Shalom, party people, and welcome to the 12th C. Rocking it on my right is Mr. J.D. Stone.
Good morning.
We're getting ready to attempt a 9-mile ruck, and time will start in a few minutes, but we're going to do a weigh-in first, so that way everybody's clear with what we're carrying. Mr. J.D. Stone on my right. What's your EDC today?
EDC?
Yeah, everyday carry. What you got, sir?
I don't know.
What you got in your pockets?
Find out. I am 168 pounds.
And with your ruck?
With the ruck.
You're 200.6. So you're pushing what? 32?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I math correctly.
Yeah, if you math correctly. About 32 pounds. Not
About
too shabby.
32 pounds.
Yeah, what do you got in your What do you got in your pockets?
Like
Nothing?
no.
Okay, cool. Rocking regular boots, steel toe boots, parade boots. What you rocking?
These are basic issue army boots.
All right, sweet. Okay, so I'm gonna have Mr. J.D. Stone film me.
Here we are.
On me, I've got a TQ headphones case. Let's see, I got emergency toilet paper and baby wipes just in case somebody has to go pop a squat in the woods. Hopefully don't need those, but trust me, you're gonna want them if you do need them. All right, so with that and my hoodie and shoes and all that good jazz, I am coming out at 212.4, which buck naked just a little while ago I was 207.4. So what, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I got 5 pounds of gear on me that's not me. And with the ruck, let's see, coming out at 273. So what, 73 minus 12? Is 62?
Yeah, it's too early.
Yeah, no, you're good. No, 61. Yeah, so 61 pounds. And I will be snackaging. I don't know if you brought snackages, good sir.
I just brought one burrito.
One burrito? Good enough for...
It's a peanut butter burrito.
Hey, peanut butter burritos are good. I will be snackaging. I got a mixture of off-brand Cheez-Its that are like super low ingredient, and then 2 servings of almonds and some pretzels that there's like 6 ingredients in those pretzels, I think. And then I got some Jocko peanut butter chocolate, whatever, and some milk to make some milk out of that, and then rocking water with Refuge and Grindstone on that. All right, Mr. J.D. Stone, are you ready to ruckus?
I can do this.
All right.
Hydrate.
You can leave that here, dude.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I see how.
We're looping, so homemade gummy bears. So we don't even have to.
That's not gonna be part of your
No. It'll be inside me and I'll carry it in a little while. All right, let's see, 5-mile loop.
5-mile loop.
5-mile loop, and then we'll do a 4-mile loop afterwards. All right, everybody, we're at 0351. Time starts at the 4 minute and 27 second mark. So let's pick up the pace. Man, it is probably the full moon behind.
Relatively heavy cloud.
Yeah, but it sure does look bright.
It is very bright night.
Yeah, I may not even be able to see a whole lot of that, but better than nothing. So, backstory for anyone who's already tuned out. oh well. But backstory for you folks was on Mr. Bear Independent's Patreon exclusive live stream last night for, I don't know, maybe an hour of it before I had to go finish my workout. And just was like, you know what? Let's see where this goes. And threw down in the comments, hey, I'm open to suggestions. How far should I ruck tomorrow? And Bear was like somewhere between 6 and 12 miles. And so I responded, 9 it is. So we're gonna do 9 miles today. And came out the door to work out with Mr. JD Stone. And was like, hey, I'm giving you an out tomorrow if you want this, but 9 miles. And he didn't say no.
It's not the mileage that I object to, it's the early start, but should not be.
Which we got going a hair later than anticipated, but we're okay. So, because to complete this in time, we just have to do 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And that means basically 4 miles an hour or 15-minute miles. So
here we go.
Yeah.
Up the very familiar hill we've talked about.
yeah, we've got a hill that, I don't know, probably an easy 25% grade. And it's a great way to start, I think. But the rest of this, we really only have, for this loop at least, we only really have one more, like, noticeable hill.
Well, coming up the back end of Bender,
Yeah,
like out of Bender,
yeah,
and back up here, that's rough.
yeah,
And then there's a steep grade in Bender, but it's not prohibitively long.
well, there's also that grade, I guess. Yeah, you're right, coming out of Bender, I forgot about that.
Right.
So, and then after that 5 mile loop, you will see us boogie on 4 more miles. So we should complete that first 5 miles in an hour and hour 15-minute loop, and then the last 4 miles we should do it in an hour. So Mr. JD Stone and myself have done 12 before, but when we did 12, that was 11 pounds ago for this bag. Actually, no, it wasn't this bag. That bag was inside of this bag. That bag is inside of this bag. Because my 61-pound bag includes added weight over what my normal bug out bag would be. And for training purposes, I needed to go up in weight. Which, that, my goodness, is a concept in and of itself. Go grab your rucksack, do a shakedown, put the things you need in it, and just go walk for an hour.
I did.
Yeah.
Books.
Yeah. What books are you rocking in there, Mr. J.D. Stone?
It's mostly the same. That would be a massive orthopedic physical therapy textbook.
Yeah, so we can put ourselves back together.
If we have enough time,
Yeah.
theoretically.
Well, isn't that all theory is theoretically if we have enough time?
Yeah, well, I don't know how thick as it is. I don't know how comprehensive it is about physical therapy. I recall my wife studying it rather intensively for over 2.5 years. So,
but we will find out the hip bone's connected to the leg bone.
probably, and we will also probably find out that there's multiple things that we think about as hip bones, and we'll know that there's a lot of technical terms for them. We will also know the insertions and there's another term. It's where the muscles connect, exactly where on those bones.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff. We'll know a lot of stuff about it. I don't know how much of it would apply to actual rehabilitation for the musculoskeletal system, but it's in there. And then I've got a Strong's Concordance.
There we go. So
Physical copy of that.
it's always a good way to navigate too.
Yep. The New Evidence That Demands a Verdict
Yeah.
by Josh McDowell. I think the complete works of Lewis Carroll are in there. And one that I've actually been reading, The Creators by Daniel J. Borston. He's a historian, rather accomplished. It's been an interesting read about the creativity of humans over the millennia.
Awesome.
Yeah. Those are the ones I remember. I think there's a couple more in there to
Round it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I basically filled it with as much as I could.
I don't blame you.
What about you? What are you packing?
Well, I've got some 550 cord. I've got some emergency tarps. I've got a change of clothes. Got about 2 liters of water as an emergency water ration. I've got a big bush knife in there. An emergency fire kit. Trying to think what else I got in here.
First aid kit, obviously.
Yeah, I've got, and the first aid's not as comprehensive as I would like it, but mostly gauze and duct tape, because that'll pretty well solve a lot of the, but here's the thing, you gotta, even though it's semi-relatively accessible, like my tourniquet in my pocket, which is going to be really hard to see, but that's what's accessible like right now, and then everything else on it is drop the bag, pull the bag out, and apply first aid. So it's not a life-saving this second kit. It's all right, we've stopped the immediate flow of blood or slowed it down substantially. Now we're gonna like wrap it up more than anything else. I need to purchase some better kits from Refuge Medical. Shout out to them. I will say that I've got some pieced together kits of supplies from them that Mr. Bug Out Bob helped me build, because I couldn't afford the 2 or 3 kits I wanted to buy, so I just bought the guts. And I've got those staged between vehicles and what I will usually carry with me. and those are more comprehensive. But full disclosure, cards on the table, the kit that I usually carry with me, it ends up either in a vehicle that I'm driving in, or it ends up, whatever. I've got a desk kit that I pieced together at work, and for my about 90% context, that's either, I've got a medical kit in the vehicle, or I got a medical kit within arm's reach at the desk. But
for those crucial
Yeah.
winter injuries.
yeah, well, you can have an active shooter situation at work. You can have someone fall down the stairs.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can have a situation where somebody's moving something and it falls on them. So things that are all within that realm of possibilities. But yes, paper cuts, But no, when I was working inside the prisons, which I still go inside the prisons and I carry stuff on me when I go in, at minimum, I've got chest seals, gauze, a nose noodle, and a tourniquet on me when I go inside a prison. At minimum. And a lot of times I'm usually running 2 or 3 tourniquets and quick clot when that's going down too. It just kind of depends on how heavy I'm able to go, and if I can go in with a duty belt in dress clothes or not. But no, I don't have a dedicated ruck kit that I probably should have one. And at the least, I guess I could pull a car kit and molly it to the pack. But, it is what it is. But yeah, cards on the table. I've got minimal medical with me.
I'm already super glad I couldn't find my sweatpants.
Yeah. Really, the only reason I wore this hoodie was for the extra padding between the bag and me.
Yeah, I do have that long sleeve on the top, and I think that's a good choice.
Yeah.
It always surprises me how hot you can get doing this.
Oh yeah. I've said it plenty of times and I'll say it again. I get more gassed from rucking than I do from running.
Man, I remember I did my basic at Fort Knox, Kentucky during the tail end of summer. I rolled in there in July, beginning of July. And oh my gosh, I remember going on those road marches, because you have to do a few to qualify. I think I only did one when I was in the regular Army, because, mechanics. And that one wasn't really required. It was the CO. He came in, transferred into us, and he had been an 11 Bravo when he was enlisted, and he had bootstrapped in, but he had decided for whatever reason that logistics is what he wanted to do. And so he came in with these really whole ideas about how we're going to be everything that the infantry is and more.
Yeah.
And that did not improve morale.
I bet not.
There's a certain type of person that enlists to be 11 Bravo. Is that, I want to be in the actual army. I want to fight. I want to shoot. I want to ruck. I want to do all those really awesome army
We're
things.
at 1 mile marker in 20 minutes. into film time, so we are basically right at the minimum speed, so we should pick it up just a hair.
Pick it up. Anyway, the people who enlist for the things that we were, mechanics, cooks, fuelers, parts personnel, that kind of thing, those are the kids where the recruiter says, hey kid, how are you going to go to college?
Yeah, pretty much.
And we go, I don't have any money for college. And then, hey kid, we'll give you some money for college, and we'll give you 3 squares a meal a day, and we're gonna
Place to live.
a place to live. You know, food, clothing, shelter. I'll throw you some education money.
And you'll get paid to do it.
And he said, oh, that sounds like an amazing deal, and it is.
Yeah.
If you make that out without any severe mental health problems, it is. And of course, barring the physical ones too. Good grief. So that's the mindset of the people that I was with. And then when CEO said we're gonna do a rucksack march, everybody said,
What's that?
we thought that we already did that. That was the sucky part that we got over in the beginning. No, we're gonna do it again. I said, but why, sir? Why? Because we have a motor pool full of vehicles that can go a lot faster than we do. Well, we're gonna train, and because I said so. So, yeah.
Well, all systems degrade into man-portable systems because the vehicle breaks,
That's what they say.
and you got to go from point A to point B.
We were never even close to a situation like that in the combat zone.
Right, but worst case scenario.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You may have to rough it out.
That's what he said. But see, we didn't do the ruck marches with any consistency, so it was more of a teaching moment for our new leader to figure out, how to work with his people. He was very much of the opinion that he wanted to be the top down, what I say goes. I think he learned pretty quick that appealing to the morale of your people goes a really long way towards a more pleasant life for everybody.
Yeah.
Reaching that compromise. But yeah, before that, and the actual road marches that we did, because we did a 15K and then a 20. First we just started with a 2K, 5K, 10K, 15K, and then a 25K, I believe.
Yeah.
We would get up in the morning with those full packs, dry, do our stretches, head up there. Those hot Kentucky mornings, we soaked ourselves, our rucks, and everything inside it with sweat by the time we were done. It was amazing.
I bet.
I was gun on bearer too, so I was right next to our CO, who I never heard speak, not once. The CO in the training unit. That's a lead from the top kind of thing. I think, he must have talked to the drill sergeants.
Probably.
But he was, for us, just this enigmatic figure, completely unreachable, that we only saw on road marches.
Right.
He never even watches train, as far as I know. But yeah, I would do those road marches about 5 meters behind him, leading the way, and it was good times. Still stepping it out.
Yeah, we need to, if we're gonna have some cushion room.
We always want cushion.
Yeah. Especially at the beginning, we should up it to we can do 12-minute.
Right, and we're going downhill right now.
Well, right now, yeah. If we can use that free speed in our favor, that'll give us some much desired on the way in. So excuse me,
You probably don't have to tell people that.
yeah, well,
I doubt the mic picks that up.
I hope the mic doesn't pick that up, but last night my wife and I were watching Bluey after the kids went to bed, and they were having...
Think about that, people.
Yes, I know. And they were having a family meeting about how somebody farted. But no, Bluey's a good show. That's definitely one of those ones that you, as a parent, enjoy watching after your kids go to bed because it's written that well.
Yeah, and I was in the middle of looking up fan theories. I saw that the actress who plays Chili, the mom dog, had not met Bandit's voice until they were over a year into filming.
That doesn't shock me.
She said that it's just written that well. You can get the chemistry between the characters because it's all there on the paper.
Yeah. Well, the first season, there's not a ton of interactions between Bandit and Chili as the parents. They're playing with their kids, but there's not a lot of them time dedicated to the first season. And it picks up as the seasons progress.
Which feeds into the fan theory.
Right. There is a fan theory that that the parents were not together during the first season and were slowly bridging their relationship back together, which I don't 100% buy, but I will say there is internal evidence in the show that...
If you want to interpret it that way.
Yeah, if you look at it hard enough, it's like, that is compelling. But I think it was just a fact of they were trying to focus on other things in the show, and there's some unintended consequences that came out of that. So
we're now crossing beautiful Bender Lake.
yes, which is going to be hard to see all of that, but I mean, there's stuff there. That's part of rucking at Oh Dark Ugly, is if there's cloud cover, there's not a lot to see.
It doesn't matter that it's ugly because you can't see it.
Well, yeah, what's ugly is the time, but I guess there's a reason that we don't start filming until we've kind of gotten warmed up.
Yeah.
Because normally people, the like two people, I guess, who watch these videos other than myself when I'm throwing timestamps on things, you guys are getting about 1.5 miles to 3.5 miles of Mr. JD Stone and I when we're just trucking along, and we've already had maybe 30 minutes of conversation already. And today we're filming the whole thing because when somebody's like, I don't believe that you really did 9 miles, I'm like, well, here, you can at least listen to us huffing and puffing and catch some snippets of light here and there, and I'll show you my step count. So
you could edit the video and speed up.
If you edit it, then there's always accusations. So here's the raw uncut, and then have the edited version for follow-up. I'm also not good at editing, and this is an opportunity for me to get some practice out of that. So, learn by doing.
I was talking to my sister yesterday about art. Sure, being a YouTuber is an art.
It is. There is real art in putting things on film and doing it, but at my stages, it's kind of like a 2-year-old with crayons. And it's stuff that people with some real followers on YouTube have told some of you guys to follow me, and I feel like they're putting up a 2-year-old's crayon drawing on the refrigerator for a week before it gets thrown away of, hey, you did it, good job. And yes, I need to hear that so that way I keep going, which has been wonderful. And the only way you get better is practice. But I'm not even gonna be having this look like modern art for a while, and I don't think modern art's very good.
Well, I don't know, man. I was at a gallery a couple of years ago. Pre-COVID, we had kids in a private art school. My wife knew the owners and was able to cut deals to get it a little more inexpensive. But it's definitely an elite kind of deal. And they had these, 5-year-olds at this super posh art gallery up in Columbia. And I was looking at some of those pieces that were in there, and they just looked like doodles.
Yeah.
And so I said to one of the owners, I kind of feel like maybe this, piece of paper that's, clearly just from an art sketchbook that was torn out, it was with some scribbles on it. I feel like these are the doodles that the kids made. And she said, yeah, it is.
Well, at least they were honest about it.
Yeah. She said those are. And, I know I'm very artistic minded. There were a whole lot of those pieces, especially the huge ones, that there was clearly a lot of intentionality behind it. Still don't know what they were getting at, but when you know that the artist drew that shape and not another one, and they put it right there, and they put it in those colors, and that they know how to do whatever they want, but they chose to do that.
Yeah. Well, there's situations where, like in protest or whatever, there have been artists that have just gotten a large piece of canvas and like putting a couple of brush strokes on it and thrown it up in the gallery, and people will bid big money on it.
Well, that's what the banana was about not terribly long ago. Did you hear about that?
No.
It was, I don't know, my sense of time is off, but
Mine is too, don't worry.
maybe a year and a half ago, maybe 2 or 3, I don't know. There was an artist who was going to make a comment about...
Here, take the camera. Sure. There was an artist that was going to make a comment about
rich people and art and how they don't really understand it, they just buy it.
Yeah.
So he went and got a banana from the local supermarket and fixed it to the wall somehow. I think it was duct tape.
Yeah.
Duct taped a banana to the wall and sold it for an exorbitant amount of money. And true to form, it erupted with a whole bunch of commentary from the art world about, well, what is art anyway? And,
Yeah.
and he was like, you know, a whole bunch of indignant people, well, if this is art, then anything could be art, and it doesn't actually mean anything. And he's like, that's exactly the point. That's what I'm trying to say. But he did copyright the concept of the banana because, you know, it's so temporary.
Right. I'm just pitching trash.
Yep. Yeah, the entire point was, this is stupid, everybody.
Yeah.
Why are we getting rich, gullible people to waste so much money? Well, you know, because they like to eat, that's part of it. But he was kind of telling the rich, gullible people, you don't have to do this, you know, you can buy art that you like.
Yeah.
No? But I think because the social commentary about the piece was so huge, the person who bought it now has the right to tape a banana to a wall and call it art. And, you know, because that's something that you're going to have to recreate, you know, you can't. But it's something that is easy, he can do it,
Yeah.
he has the skills, and since he has the right to do it, and because there was such deep discourse around it, it suddenly does have meaning, which is weird.
Yeah.
And status. Because when people visit him, they can point to that banana and say, yeah, I'm the guy.
Well, the other thing is that art, once you start spending more than a few $1,000s on it, for wealthy people, is a racket.
Yes.
It's a money laundering scheme where they are paying bukus of bucks for paintings. They will have a third party who was bribed to appraise it, and then they'll have it up for auction, and on paper they will buy it for, you know, $10 million. Well, the auction house gets their 20% of that, and they actually had a backroom deal where they didn't buy it for that much, but they have a receipt that says that they bought it for 10 million, and they only paid like 2 to the auction house, and then a small backroom deal. So they've just laundered $10 million, and they will,
They put it into the yards.
yeah,
Get the tax break.
they'll donate it or they'll lend it out to a museum, and it'll go on tour. And so that's a donation that they have lent out. They get the painting back. They hold it for a couple of years, going down a big hill. But they have it, excuse me, big burp, reappraised after 5 years that they've paid the appraiser off, and they will sell it to a friend for $100 million, and then that's a backroom deal, which isn't going through any which way. And then that friend of theirs donates it to a museum afterwards and can write off that money on their taxes. And they're not taxed on the appreciation of the value that came behind it, because that art is a different kind of investment. And so it's a way that millionaires can launder money and get away with it. But I want to say we're at 2.5. I'm trying to remember what the mileage was I said when we got to the bottom of that hill. That one time I looked this up, but
I don't remember either.
We're at 40 minutes and I know it's well over 2 miles, but I don't remember where we're at, but I still think we're hovering right at standard. So if we huff it a little bit more. It's not rocket. Yeah. Which I think the plan for this video is we have the unedited version that I'll eventually put timestamps on and description markers and everything in it. And then we'll have an edited version of the highlights come through, and if there's any content that is worthy of turning into a short, I'll try and pull from it, so that way I get editing practice all the way around, which I desperately need. So I think that's going to be the game plan out of this. And there's no way you'll see this, but there's a deer by the water. Yeah. There's no way that was going to be seen on camera, but
I wouldn't have recognized it as a deer if you said so.
my eyesight's not amazing, but there's more deer moving in front of us and there's no way you'll see it, but they're cutting across. The movement's even easier to see, but and I doubt you'll hear that on the mic, but they're rushing into the woods now.
Probably wondering what we're doing.
I don't think deer understand the concept of a podcast, so I'm sure they're just like, oh, predators.
Yep.
Which we're getting really close to this county park that we're coming through. It's going to be needing a managed hunt soon because there's more deer here than what this park's able to support. And there's too many cars that are hitting them. And all it's going to take is somebody to die behind the wheel. And there's enough space out here that if you know what you're doing and you closed the park and you had some people post it months in advance and you had drivers come through just to make sure that everything was truly closed, that you could do a managed hunt through here with a firearm, although they won't do that. They'll do managed bow hunts, which is better than nothing. And plus, deer hunters that are doing bow season around here tend to know how to shoot, and they end up being more successful. Whereas your gun hunters, it's about a 1 in 5 as to whether or not they're even going to shoot something. let alone an ethical shot. I think it's 1 in 5 deer hunters actually harvest a deer, and 1 in 20 will get more than one.
Wow. But it sounds better to say that you went hunting than I went to the woods and drank a beer.
Yeah. Saw something move and squeezed the trigger. It's a monster buck. 18 points. 600 pounds. Like, okay, thanks.
Not away though.
He caught my bullet in his teeth and kept running. Which I'll tell you, that hunting concept is part of why I am against the idea of you're gonna hunt your way to survival. I'm not saying you can't supplement, but I don't want to gamble on my source of calories coming through. It's a whole lot easier to throw rice and beans in 5-gallon buckets with some oxygen absorbers in Mylar bags than it is to have a week's worth of groceries in the pantry, and then when that runs out, start wondering where you're going to get food. And you should have a working pantry, but having some supplemental emergency food. Well, Great Depression, deer were almost hunted to extinction in America. It wasn't until, about a generation and a half ago where some states were even allowing people to deer hunt again because the population finally got to a sustainable level again. It's never been a problem in here in my lifetimes, but my grandfather talks about remembering when it was legal to hunt deer again. And he's 90, so imagine whole generations not legally being able to hunt. I just wonder what kind of knowledge has been lost.
Yeah. That was actually something that I was thinking about as I read the creators. It's about architecture, the section that I'm in right now, and some really interesting things, starting with the Egyptian buildings. The Egyptians started with Imhotep.
Yeah.
He was the architect that figured out something about how it was that they built. But they venerated him to the point that they included him in the pantheon. But he didn't have all of the ideas, because the Great Pyramid, that was an innovation. They did a couple.
Yeah, they have like the step pyramid, and then
Yeah, the step pyramid is his.
yeah,
That's the one that he designed for himself. And then there's a couple other ones, one of them being one that they started with a steeper grade, but they figured
changed it. Yeah,
They
because
figured out they couldn't make it work, so they leveled it out a bit, so it's got that rounded top. But then you've got Khufu's, the Great Pyramid, and that is just it's incredible. It's accurate on the north, south, east, and west compass points to 1,000th of a degree. Just dead on. The moving bricks that size are just immense. Because that's the other thing, like the Imhotep's pyramid is built with about fist-sized bricks.
Yeah. Weren't they mud bricks, or were they chiseled?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't remember if the book said how those bricks were made. I think they were baked mud. But yeah, Khufu's huge bricks. Hauled a really long way, and then just precisely set.
So I was watching, and I'll find the video and I'll link it in the description, but I was watching an explanation on a theory of how the pyramids could have been built, and it has to do with making floats out of papyrus and animal skins and cedar, and taking these blocks, and you only have to get enough buoyant material on it to where it'll float an inch in the water, and they'll quarry it, slide it into the river, and float it down where they want it to go, float it down a causeway that they put lift gates in, and then have a air and watertight chamber that they float it up through, and then set the blocks. And it's an interesting theory. I don't know if I 100% buy it, but they demonstrate some small scale practicality behind it on how it could have been done. It's a unique theory. It's better than aliens.
Yeah. Which is impressive to me, because like even now people are just throwing up their hands and saying it's impossible for humans to do this.
No, it's not impossible. It's just we've forgotten a lot.
How. So all of that information was lost, and then also they mentioned that the art of mummification declined.
I believe that too.
And we just don't know. We don't know how they did it. Then you talk about Greece and Rome. They were not just putting bricks on top of one another. There were very precise geometrical plans for how to construct those pillars and make them look proportional, even though they were a lot bigger. There's optical illusions that happen when you're at that size, and it looks like they're going out and stuff like that, but they're actually not. So they accounted for that and actually built more curvature, more width into those pillars, so they do look straight even though they're not. I think we know how to do that, but then with the Romans, the way they developed concrete.
So their type of concrete, I thought was super interesting, because the way they mixed it, they actually didn't get a pure solid mixture like what we get. So there were pockets of the powdered concrete and limestone and all that throughout it. So as it cracked and it rained, it made more concrete.
Yeah.
And it helped patch its own cracks. I was like, that is insane.
Yeah,
so a self-healing concrete.
Yeah, they knew some stuff, and I don't know how intentional that was, because it could have been intentional.
I think it was.
Yeah.
Because they realized if they got a good enough mix behind it, that they'd have to come back and fix it later. But they're like, if we do a rough mix, like say, kids aren't awake and you're mixing the pancakes together versus the kids are up and it's go time. Right. There's going to be pockets of flour that don't get 100% mixed in. And it's the same concept, I think, they realized, hey, if we do a rough mix, we're golden. But if we do a solid mix, plus it takes less time,
Yeah.
so they're even more efficient.
There was the secret of concrete that they had, and they kept improving that. And then they also had some really cool architectural ideas. Borston considers the Roman Pantheon building to be their apex. The interesting thing about that one, it's round.
Yeah.
It's got a big old skylight in the middle. It's apparently very impressive. It's a church, it has been for centuries, but it started out as a pagan temple, and we're sure, Borston is at least sure that Hadrian was the one who built it,
Uh-huh.
or at least who commissioned it, but he credited it to Agrippa, which is odd.
Yeah.
I don't know why he would do that, but there was that was the apex. Then centuries later, over 5 centuries later, Justinian the First in Constantinople, or no, the second, Justinian second. I don't know, it's the first and second. The one that was married to Theodora.
Yeah.
He commissioned the Hagia Sophia because their primary church got burnt down in a riot in which he had his generals massacre over 30,000 people, according to the records. Now, ancient historians are prone to exaggeration.
Right. Still.
So who knows? But yeah, that's an atrocity. But whatever. Built that thing. It's the Hagia Sophia. It has that circular structure, but it's placed on a rectangle. And apparently, they lost a lot of knowledge about even how to do domes. So it is more poorly built than the Roman structure. And true to form in the repurposing of those buildings, it is and has been for most of its existence a Muslim mosque. They added 4 minarets to the corners and covered up the Christian art and called it a day.
Yeah, it happens. That's conquered architecture for you.
Yeah.
They like the looks, but they put a spin on it.
Which
We've done the same thing, so we don't have any room to talk.
or the Christians have, yeah. I mean, that's what they did with the Pantheon.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Made them all saints instead of notable historical figures.
Yeah, they, with the Hagia Sophia, they did uncover the art for a while, and they had, after the government of Turkey took over Istanbul, well, the secular government, they made the Hagia Sophia into a museum so that all of its history, both Christian and Muslim, could be on display beside each other. But then, since Borston wrote that book, they reconverted it back to a mosque. So, it is now a Muslim temple once again. You could argue that for the time that it was a museum, it was a humanistic temple.
Yeah, that is
dedicated
arguable.
to human achievement. So it's always been a place of worship.
Yeah, one way or the other.
Yeah, another interesting thing about it though was its original dome cracked in earthquakes, and the understudy for the architect repaired it more efficiently.
That's good.
Yeah.
There was a story being talked about in the 48 Laws of Power. I don't remember the full context, but some relatively modern architect was being asked to design, I think it was a bank, and he did it and showed the head person his designs and where the head person was going to have their office. They're like, no, there's no way structurally that will hold. I need you to put some support columns in there. And instead of arguing with the guy, he's like, okay. So he throws in some support columns, makes the dude feel happy about it. They don't touch the top. They're just freestanding support columns with about 2 inches of gap underneath. And when they were remodeling, that's when maintenance noticed, hey, and this was years later.
Yeah.
Maintenance was like, these columns don't touch the ceiling. What's going on here? And through the perspective and the geometric shapes that existed, you couldn't tell from the floor or at any other point in the room that those columns weren't touching the ceiling. You know, dude could have put some plaster or something there to make everyone feel better. Nope, open space. And so he didn't step on the feelings of the dude who wanted to contribute, but he silently sent his message of, nope, I designed this right.
Yep.
And there was another story where Michelangelo was sculpting David, and one of his benefactors came in and was like, oh, you need to change the nose because it's much different. And instead of arguing with the guy, Michelangelo has a handful of marble dust, and he goes up and pretends to chisel away at David's nose, and he drops some marble dust as he's doing it. And the benefactor at this point has moved until he's changed angles, and now he can see the nose at the angle it was meant to be viewed from. And Michelangelo is like, what do you think? He's like, much better, thank you. And Michelangelo didn't change a thing on David.
Yeah.
He knew it would have ruined that statue had he come through. And
that kind of speaks, though, both of those stories, to how an artist or professional deals with somebody who clearly has more ego than is good for them.
right,
Like
you need to let the boss feel like they're in charge.
The artist says, the artist is in charge. If the artist didn't know what he was doing, they wouldn't have hired him in the first place.
Right. Well, and that doesn't mean that artists don't make mistakes, because they do.
Oh, no, they do. But it is not under the purview of a bank CEO whose their purview is running a business, moving money, managing people.
Which is a form of art in and of itself.
Yeah,
and a science.
It's a completely different art. To have the hubris to lean over an architect's shoulder and say, oh, by the way, I know how to build better than you.
Yeah.
And the artist knowing, you know what, my pride is not worth it right now. I do not need the credit of being right in this guy's eyes. In fact, it's going to be such a pissing contest. It's going to be worse if I fight him.
Yeah.
So, I'll do what he says, or at least I'll make him think that I'm doing what he says.
Yeah.
And especially in the space of that contract.
Yeah, you never insult the ego of the person who's signing your paycheck, but at the same time, just because they have an ego doesn't mean they're right.
Right. So you know, 2 lessons in that. If you're the artist, if you're the person underneath, you know, pick your battles and keep your ego in check.
Right.
And if you're the guy commissioning the piece, keep your ego in check.
Right. Because you push someone around who's soft enough to comply, you may have just ruined it.
Yeah, which I'm 100% sure has happened.
Oh, happens all the time. But
Like when the artist knows better, or the contractor, or whoever it is that's doing the work knows better.
well, here's one for you. This is not my story. So I'm prefacing with that of, this is not mine. But my instructor in aviation school was telling me about when he was working for Emory Air down in Florida, and they were working on something, and technical specifications that they were working with showed a weld. Well, the problem is the 2 pieces of metal that were together, one was aluminum and one was steel. You can't weld aluminum to steel. And so they called the engineers in. It's like, hey, can you explain this to me? Because this shows that these 2 pieces are supposed to be welded together. And one is 7075 T6 aluminum, and the other is stainless steel. And I don't remember what grade of stainless steel he said it was. It was like, those are 100% incompatible to be welded together.
Yeah.
And the engineer was like, oh, you a funny man, sir. You a funny man. And so they changed the plans on the fly and altered it to where they would be bolted together instead of welded. But, I mean, the engineers that are designing a lot of these things these days aren't the ones building it. So there is that plays into it as well.
Well, and that's appropriate.
But if the engineer gets all in their ego of, I know more than somebody who doesn't have all the fancy degrees that I have.
But that was somebody genuinely bringing in their piece of expertise.
Right.
To fix a mistake.
Well, it also speaks to knowing how to read the blueprints.
Yeah.
With the technical data, you know, whatever you have in front of you. Which I want to say they were working on an aircraft that was like having some modifications done to it that they had been approved by the manufacturer to do. I think that was the circumstances, but this is me remembering a story that I heard 10 years ago.
Yeah.
That the dude was remembering happening many more years before that. So, like, we're getting this on orders of magnitude, but the principle behind it is still there. Homemade gummy bears. Let's increase our pace just a hair.
Yeah. I keep thinking dragging a little bit.
We're dragging just a tad, but we're not behind time. But to give us the cushion that we want, we're dragging in that sense.
And we did that 12 mile. We were hauling.
We were.
We did great.
It was cold too.
Yeah. And I developed a blister at this point.
Yeah, I've already got one that's coming. So
I switched boots. You know, you're issued two sets of boots. I mistakenly was using my parade boots for that 12 mile. These are my field boots, and they're a little bit more supple.
yeah.
So I'm doing better on these. keep up a continuous conversation, I think it impacts the time.
It for sure does. It for sure does. So tell me about future books that you're gonna read on your U of Two's channel.
Oh, that has been on the wayside for a while.
That's okay.
My ideas are running around Brothers Grimm.
Okay.
I actually picked up a copy of that at the bookstore last time I was in Texas. So I was kind of previously kicking around the idea of reading the original fairy tales behind anything Disney's done.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Not
You could do it in the order release that
Yeah.
Disney did it too.
Yeah, and of course I can't say Disney probably, but I can allude to it. I can just say the version that
Yeah.
and just
Well, yeah, I think you can say Disney, but
Yeah.
I think it's when you are outright doing anything beyond a review of something that you're out of fair use.
right.
So,
Well, and I want to do a contrast of okay, here's the version that you're used to. You know that.
Yeah.
I can't read a script or anything, but you can go get it. Disney Plus.
yeah.
Everybody knows the high. At least everybody knows the high points. I've never even seen The Little Mermaid or Aladdin, and I know
You've
the high
never
points of
seen Aladdin?
those.
Wow. Ruined childhood.
I had a mom who was pretty convinced that some of those things were satanic.
She's probably not wrong on all of it, but
Yeah. She didn't like Aladdin because the genie in there was friendly and good
yeah.
and helpful. And it's like, just from a storytelling standpoint, that makes sense to say why. Why would the jinn be really helpful and enthusiastic to help this kid? The jinn is in it for himself, and that is in the original Thousand Nights.
If I remember the original story, it wasn't just one jinn though.
Yeah, there
He
were
had
multiple.
Whole slew of them.
No, there were just the two. There was the Jinn of the Ring and the Jinn of the Lamp. The Jinn of the Lamp was stronger than the Jinn of the Ring. So I mean that's a detail that's missed in the Disney version. But Hallmark actually did a version of that story. Actually, a lot of 1001 Nights. They they did that frame tale. They did a series, and the genie in that one is actually really good. He is extremely powerful, arrogant, verbally abusive, sarcastic, totally in it for himself,
Yeah.
and really pissed that he has to serve mortals under this curse. And that she liked that version because she said that is a better version of deal with the devil
Right.
than what is portrayed in Aladdin and The Little Mermaid, by the way. The message in those is you can do a deal with the devil and get away with it. It's all gonna shake out. And it won't.
Yeah.
How many girls watched The Little Mermaid?
And believe now that they can sell their soul.
Yeah,
And end up
then wound up in
with everything they want.
And then wound up in Harvey Weinstein's office saying, well, if this is what I gotta do. Yeah, no.
So to quote Ursula, you poor unfortunate soul.
Yeah. So, the idea would be to read the original and then to run that in a contrast with the version that we know, the popular version. As far as most of the audience is concerned, the original version, because
Right.
that's what they learned it with.
Well, that's their original version,
Exactly, their original version.
but not the original version. My truth.
Right. So yeah, I could do Disney, or I could do more of them, because there are fairy tales that Disney has not touched
Of
that are
course.
still very much present in the public consciousness in a corrupted version.
Right.
Which, ironically, a much morally clean version, but corrupted as far as deviated from the original.
Well, and didn't the Brothers Grimm update the morals of a lot of their fairy tales to fit the morals of the time?
I'll bet they did. I mean, that's what people do. Although, I think the Brothers Grimm were considered original folklorists. So, if the folklore community is owning them, they might have, and I'll have to do this research to so I can talk about it. It's well possible that they recorded a version in as pure a form as they could, or more of as a conglomerate, because they would go to these places and they would ask the storyteller in the area to just, hey, tell us the story.
Right.
And they would. And stories are different every time you tell them in a verbal sense. They change very subtly, but they do change. And so that's just with the same storyteller. If you get a different region and a different storyteller, you're going to have even stronger differences. So the Brothers Grimm, I believe, if I'm remembering this correctly, they would hear a few different versions of Cinderella and from the Bavarian region, and then they just go ahead and
Make their amalgamation.
make an amalgamation. Yeah. This is the closest version that we've got, and kick it out there.
Do you need water?
I actually could use some, yeah.
Okay.
And I know I've got that peanut butter, and that is going to gum up my mouth if I don't have any.
Yeah.
So Little Red Riding Hood is actually the one that I'm thinking most prominently. And if I did Disney, then I would have to cover Robin Hood, which is not in the Brothers Grimm.
Right.
And also T.H. White's The Once and Future King, which I do have a copy of, but that's a little bit longer than you want to read on YouTube. That would be The Magician's Apprentice.
Do you have your water, or do I need to supply you?
You're going to have to supply me.
Here, hold the camera.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Here, hang tight.
Thank you, sir.
Yep. Throw in your ruck and let's boogie. Because we're burning daylight. You good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Everything that didn't happen at the storm drain.
You had plenty of time for the storm drain on that. Mr. JD Stone dropped the water I gave him. I ran inside to pull him a bottle. Oh, 4 miles to go.
4 more miles to do.
Yeah, with that pause, we're a hair behind.
I heard that one too. It used to really irritate me. Running cadences were all designed, or mostly they were composed by the 182nd Airborne.
Yeah.
So tell about jumping on a C-130. Can we sing some cadences that are more appropriate for our lane, please? But that would have required somebody coming up with something. Soldiers aren't notorious for their artistic creativity.
Well, I'm sure there's something in there about twisting that wrench.
Oh yeah, we could have, and there were a few that did moderate it. The classic one, the C-130 rolling down the strip. Airborne Ranger's gonna take a little trip. And then about how the mission is classified, we're all gonna die, you know, and get buried in the front leaning rest and all that stuff.
Yeah.
One day, Sergeant Garfield started it up. C-130 rolling down the strip. Got to the end of the runway, the damn thing flipped. So the mechanic has to run out and fix it.
Yeah.
That was a good change of pace.
I'd be very intrigued to know what causes a C-130 to flip at the end of a runway.
Well, it had to run.
Right.
That would be aliens, I think.
Probably. Back up that hill we were
Right up the hill.
when we started. And we have another hill coming up in a minute too. But after that, it's pretty smooth sailing until that last mile.
Yep.
So.
And actually, that other hill is just a different spot on the same hill.
Right. But this straightaway that we're going to have coming up at the top of the hill, we should take advantage of.
Yeah.
And going down, we should also take advantage. So we've got some room to make up some ground. Excuse me. top of the hill. And that nice breeze coming through.
It's in an angle coming down the street, so it's not blocked by the street.
Yeah.
Very nice.
If we lengthen our stride just a hair, we should be okay. Another homemade gummy bear.
Should run a counter.
We should. If I was a wealthy YouTuber, I'd offer a prize to the person who accurately tells me how many homemade gummy bears I've talked about on camera for this entire ruck.
Or just run a little counter in the lower corner.
I'm not good enough for that, but I may do it later. Who knows? But
Could be your assignment. Figure out how to do that.
yeah, could be. I'm not saying no, but I'm just saying that is low on my totem pole. That was a snot rocket, not a homemade gummy bear, but. And downhill. Don't worry, we're not at the bottom yet. We're just at the leveling off point before we go downhill again. Homemade gummy bear. Downhill again.
marks. Right foot, though.
Yeah, I got a hot spot definitely forming on that right foot.
Haul back up that hill so we don't lose all the speed we gained.
I know, right? Let you get way ahead.
I feel bad. You're carrying more than double that.
It's okay. That breeze feels wonderful. Yeah. Okay. My inner voice was trying to say, just tell Josh to slow down, it'll be fine. No, I need to catch up. Quit being a little bee and
baby.
yeah, pony up and put some hair on your chest and get out there, which I don't need any more hair on my chest. I manscape enough for 2 or 3 people because otherwise I'm in that permanent sweater weather.
We're adapted to more Arctic climes.
Yeah, I am actually. I like the cold, but
How is it that your people are from Texas, like South Texas? Not South Texas, but like
Central
bayou area.
So my mom's family is from Louisiana.
Yeah.
Going back a couple generations back to when the French settled in there. And my mom's part Caddo Indian, which I'm pretty sure they never registered. And I know my mom's family never registered. So we're not tribal enough to get any benefits.
Right.
And I'm one generation removed from the bottom generation that can claim it. So even if we could claim it, my mom would be the last one to benefit from it. And my dad's family is Black Irish, meaning they were in Spain during the time that the Islamic rule owned Spain. I don't remember which caliphate that was. And then they fled to Ireland during the Inquisition. And in Ireland, they were second-class citizens to the Irish, who were second-class citizens to the British. So my dad's family was pretty low on the totem pole. And sometime during one of the colonial trips, somebody in my dad's family made it over. Like America was established, but I mean, colonists were still coming over.
Right.
And my mom's family got annexed in during the Louisiana Purchase. So there's that. But it's a mixture of that Arabian with that old European with some more European that got mixed in with the French and Indians. So
I'm gonna guess your man sweater came from
somewhere in the Caucasus Mountains.
Yeah.
All those genes. I mean, I'm more white than anything else, but it's
white doesn't actually mean anything.
right. I know, but I'm more Caucasus Mountain than anything else. But I've got enough from that Mediterranean to give me the complexion, at least that olive skin. Because I can get pretty dark pretty quick.
Yeah.
But I also have that thick, coarse hair.
Yeah, you've got an admirable beard, I would say.
Well, thank you. I can grow it, but I never like that bushy stage in between short and long. And it just bothers me so much. I never push it out any real length. But I couldn't really grow a beard until I was about 16. I had facial hair, but
Dude, that's what most people, that's what they call it.
no, I had facial hair. It's just I couldn't complete the beard until about 16. And then it was full from there on out. But I mean, I had a pretty good amount of facial hair when I was 13.
I couldn't grow what I've got right now until like last year.
Yeah. Well,
I'm 38.
you realize I'm about to turn 30. So, yeah, that's right, YouTube. The age that I put on there is not my real age. Fight me.
What did you put on it?
I don't know. I put some birth date that's not mine. So that way if the account gets stolen, they won't have my real birthday. Which that's the thing with social media. Why are people putting their real date of births?
I don't even know why social media actually put on this. It's saying the same.
There's a federal law
Oh, you was 8?
about people under 13.
Yeah, so you said you over 13?
So
Which I know it's a lot easier to say. No, and I know that some 13-year-olds aren't sophisticated enough to lie about their age. But
When they do lie, they say they were born in 1900.
yeah.
Figure if they're gonna fake it, they might as well go all the way. Pushing an hour and 42 minutes. Now 5 of that was our pre-march portion of the video.
It's real important getting you finished in time for work.
That's the most important, yes. Which we'll finish in time for work. It's just I may be rushing through my shower and getting clothes on, but
Well, we all should be able to shower.
yeah, my coworkers do too. But we have just over 30 minutes to finish before our time is.
I feel like that's doable.
It's very doable, considering we're almost at 2 miles on this 4-mile loop, having already done 5. So an hour and 45 minutes for 7 miles is very respectable, which we're not even at the hour 45, but we're also not exactly at 7 yet either. So but we will for sure hit that 7-mile mark within the next 5 minutes, which will put us at time. And
Just recovered from that pit stop.
yeah, I mean, we've gassed it enough that we've made up for it, but we can't slow down because we're tired.
Yeah. We're gonna want
That breeze feels wonderful.
Oh man, the heat.
What'd you say?
The heat it generates.
Yeah.
Confuses me and why the upper body gets so hot.
It's the ruck, the circulation. Most of your heat's in your upper body, so.
Like all the muscle action is down in your legs.
Yeah.
But
Your legs are a lot more efficient at cooling themselves.
Yeah, that's what we want to bring up that heat from the legs.
Yeah.
Just spreading it around.
Good morning. Yeah, let's run that selfie stick out for what it's designed for. Since we actually got a little bit of light now. where we're on right now is a circuit that we usually do that's 5 miles that we've cut 1 mile off. And actually it's probably closer to about 8 or 9/10 of the mile that we've really cut off. But we just skipped 2 spurs that would have shot us into the 5 mile zone. And I'll tell you, it's nice to have blown past.
Yes, because those are hills.
They're loose hills, but there is some slope to them.
No, those are hills.
Not
They
like,
don't go down all the way. They're not incredibly long, but they are very.
I mean, there's
respectable.
what, probably a 40, 50 foot elevation change.
Yeah.
It's not detrimental, but it's noticeable. I mean, we're about to do probably a 30 foot elevation change in just a second. Maybe a 40 foot. Yeah, that's part of it. And we'll, because this isn't part of what we had to cut off to make it 4, so. And then we'll go down like a 50 foot elevation change in just a minute, but. I'll tell you, having the frame on this pack sure is nice.
Makes a difference.
Over my other one, yeah, sure does. Which, I got a buddy who's tracking down a better pack for me as we speak anyway. So hopefully that will improve things even more. You're good. I just wanted to catch up.
Oh, to finish this house.
Pretty much, yeah. Looks good.
They've been building it bits and pieces all through COVID,
Yeah.
which is impressive to me. I know that manufacturing materials are super high. At least they were while they were working on it.
They definitely were, yeah.
Leveled out since then.
I was talking to some people at the beginning of COVID, and they were talking about how their input costs for construction went up 40%. And that was at the beginning of COVID.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what it is now. I haven't followed up with them, but to take a $100,000 house and make a $140,000 house and you get the same thing
Yeah.
built right next door to each other. I'm at 20% battery now. I started with 60%, so
Oh, okay, so we're good.
yeah, but usually in filming mode, once it tells me I'm at 20%, it drops a little bit quicker. I think I've got enough battery to finish.
One more gonna go home. So we make it back down over this lip. We do skip the ghetto spur, so
Right.
from there, it's that short slope next to the hotel.
Which is mostly downhill.
Yeah, and then it's that long, very slight grade downhill straightaway.
Yeah. And then an uphill.
Yeah, then turn in. It's actually mostly uphill through that neighborhood.
Yeah. So my arms are getting tired from holding the selfie stick. Here's your trash can.
Illegal dumping.
No, it's not. Trash is public domain. It's already been ruled on by the courts.
Really?
Yep.
So those signs that say no illegal dumping, that doesn't mean anything?
They have to have a lock on the trash.
That makes me feel better about some things I've done in my
Yeah. It has to be behind a lock, like a gate or a fence, or have a lock on the lid. Behind a barrier that would be considered trespassing if you crossed.
Right.
And trash at the street is, you can either take it or you can add to it.
Yeah, I have frequently thrown stuff away like that, and I've not felt bad about it because it doesn't make any difference. It doesn't add any work to anybody. And it just gets trash off the street.
Yeah.
Glad to know that the courts agree with you.
Now, I mean, if you wheel up to a dumpster that's behind a gate and you add to it, that is illegal dumping.
Right.
The gate doesn't have to be locked, but it has to be considered a barrier of trespassing. And as long as there's no marker indicating I don't know if that one was really a gummy bear. There wasn't much in that one. Take camera for a minute, man. I need to adjust.
Part of me wondering who stops in Jeff City.
You'd be surprised.
But yeah, these hotels are always pretty full, so the parking lots are.
You would be surprised. There's more commerce here than people think. Especially when it's a state capital.
Yeah, sure, that makes a big difference. But this area is kind of far away from it.
Yeah. I mean, I understand we're one of the smallest state capitals population-wise. But still. We definitely have a larger daytime population because of how many people commute.
Yeah.
But when half of the state government workers are here.
Yeah. I know people who work in Czech, but they live in Colombia because they don't want to be in this little hick town.
It's not a hick town, but it's definitely smaller than.
They think it's a hick town.
Yeah.
I think it's the smallest town I've lived in, bar Marble Falls in Texas. And I don't know how it compares to Clovis, New Mexico. Probably about the same size.
The college town I was in for my associate's degree, when school was in session, there was 900 people in town. When school was in session. When school was in session and Lockheed Martin was factored into it, which they were outside of the limits, but there were so many commuters from over 2 hours away. I mean, it'd probably take you over 3,000 people because you had Lockheed Martin, Aerojet, Raytheon, and a couple others. But they built a lot of missiles out there. But yeah, a few thousand out there when you counted those facilities, but yeah, not a whole lot of people in that one horse town when school wasn't in session. Like 40 people. The sheriff is kind of like Andy Griffith. He wore a whole lot of other hats too, but it was like the sheriff, the fire chief, the mayor, and the judge. Those four people made up all of the county officials and the city officials too, because just so few people lived there. All right, we've got 19 minutes to make it, because we had a 4-minute and change warm up, getting everything ready before we actually officially started time, and we're just over on video the 2-hour mark. So we should be able to hit that 2:15, but we are going to need to.
Yeah, I'm really feeling it.
because we got over a mile, but I don't remember how much over. And we have a nice little sprinkling.
Yeah. Smell that ozone. I always like that tombstone with please drive safely on it.
Yeah, he doesn't want more business, but he's always gonna get it.
Yeah.
It's a very morbid reminder.
Yep.
There was some outside of Chicago marble stoneworks company. Hey, 15,000 steps. That I think it was called like Aslan Stoneworks or whatever. And I was like, I get it. You're trying to pander to the good guy of Narnia on that one, but Aslan wasn't the one making stone people.
Yeah.
He was the one unchanging people, or changing people back from stone to people.
Yeah. But calling it the White Witch, I mean, that is what they usually called her, but
Yeah.
that's too generic.
Well,
Right.
I wonder if Gorgonian Stoneworks was taken.
Yeah, Jadis would be an even more accurate, but more obscure.
Right.
She's not often called Jadis, and she didn't even get that name until the Magician's Nephew.
Right. So, chime in on the theory. Was the Lady of the Green Kirtle the same as the White Witch?
The same?
Same
No.
person.
It was in text. It was only speculated that she was of the same crew.
Right.
Uh,
But she's the only one who escaped from Charmed, though. So
that we know of. We don't know how that works. Of course, Jadis was very confident in the completion of her spell and everything, but you know, she would be. That's just her character. I'll float my fan theory.
I'll take
Her
it.
sister was her rival the whole time. Her sister must have known, at least suspected that her sister, that Jadis might use the deplorable word. So, it's possible she built a contingency in that, built in a counter spell that would have her preserved and linked to the ringing of the bell when that curse was broken.
Right.
Maybe the Lady of the Green Kirtle was Jada's sister who snuck in somehow. Now, I don't know if that's even possible, because the only way that they could get out of Charm was through the rings. So she'd have had to... Yeah, she'd have had to have piggybacked on the kids, on Diggory and Polly, without them knowing, and followed them all the way through England and back. So that's actually not highly likely. Or alternative.
Well, she wouldn't have had to go through England. She could have stayed in the
stayed in the orchard.
in the wood between the worlds.
Yeah,
but there's no indication that she was there. Plus, she would have lost her mind staying there too long. So,
well, she would have forgotten. Would she have gone totally insane? Who knows?
Which maybe she shapeshifted into something small and rode on Jadis's coattails. Who knows?
Yeah, it's but I mean, it's interesting.
There's also fan speculation that it was Jadis's daughter. So,
who would she have mated with?
No idea. Maybe a giant.
Yeah, I mean,
that's why she's so fond of the giants.
Yeah, well, they say she had giantish blood, so it wouldn't be too far out. And yeah, that does make sense, because Harfang was built over that ancient city that was built by older, wiser giants.
Yes.
The giantish Romans, probably.
Yeah, possibly, yeah.
So...
Telmarine giants, who knows? No, actually, the Telmars were pirates who made it in through a cave. So, there are other portals into Narnia. We know that.
Yeah, but
that what we've read of Narnia is just the title page. Right. So,
the speculation is that, at least from Glimfeather, was that she was of the same crew, which does that just mean another witch? Does it mean a charm witch? Does it mean... Yeah, but I don't think that the Lady of the Green Kirtle was Jada's.
Yeah.
She was clearly dead, and the whole thing would be... All
right, we've got 10 minutes.
Ooh, got a boogie.
Yeah.
The whole part about that the movies did in the films, they kept on trying to bring her back.
Well, that was partially in the books, but the movies hit way harder on that than what the books ever touched on.
Yeah, in Prince Caspian in the book, it was just hinted that it was possible.
Or at least that Hag thought it was possible.
The Hag thought it was possible. The whole... That would invalidate, though... At least the uniqueness of resurrection in Aslan's case. I don't know if it would invalidate the sacrifice. But it definitely puts a damper on the whole back from the dead bit.
Well, like we were talking about last week, though, resurrection didn't just happen one time in Scripture.
Well, that's
so,
true. That is true.
C.S. Lewis, I wonder if he would have. And there is some hint that in the Battle of Baruna, that some of the people were dead and Aslan helped bring them back.
Well, he restored the stones.
That too, but there is some subtext in that Battle of Baruna scene of some of those people are more than just injured.
Well, that was Lucy's cordial.
No, her cordial was only able to do so much.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's subtext. There's nothing explicit.
I'd have to do a really intense reading of it. Okay. I've read that book many, many times.
I have too. And maybe I'm reading something that's not there. But
a very interesting theory that I think goes maybe a little bit beyond theory a C.S. Lewis scholar determined that the Chronicles of Narnia, each book is themed on a pre-Copernican concept of the heavenly bodies, on individual ones. And the original plan was just to do The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, which was centered on Jupiter.
Yeah.
But then as he did more, he's like, well, that just threw off the order.
Yeah.
But yeah, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe is Jupiter. The Prince of Caspian is about Mars.
Okay.
Voyage of the Dawn Treader is the sun.
Okay.
What came next? Was it The Horse and His Boy?
No, Horse and His Boy wasn't actually written until after the Silver Chair was done.
Okay, Dawn Treader, then Silver Chair. Silver Chair was the moon.
Okay. I was wondering about that.
Yeah, lunacy. Insanity was the theme on that one, and that's associated with the moon.
Right. Well, hence
Silver and all
Luna.
of that.
Lunacy. Yes.
Then The Horse and His Boy. It's Mercury. Speed, quick.
Okay.
And then the last battle was, The Magician's Nephew.
Yeah, Magician's Nephew.
Oh, we were just talking about. Jeez, what was that?
Got 10% battery left.
I think that was Venus.
Okay.
Maybe life, creation, birth, and then
Battle.
The last battle was Saturn, Pluto, death, the end.
That makes
Hades
sense.
is the Greek.
Right.
The Greek incarnation of that. So yeah, and at first I was like, you stretch it, but very solid arguments, and
There's stuff there, maybe. Yeah.
and not just I can make this fit. He found some. Not only did he know that Lewis himself was kind of obsessed with pre-Copernican concepts, he really hated Copernicus, ruined that whole framework of that allegory with the heavenly bodies and all of that. He knew that Lewis liked that, and he also did find some unpublished scripts that indicated a more strong link
Okay.
between those things. But yeah, with that stuff in mind, a lot more of his decisions make sense, like including Father Christmas in this tale that he didn't really seem to fit, you know?
Okay.
But Father Christmas is associated with Jupiter,
That makes sense.
so he wanted to include it.
There's a lot of pagan origins with
Yeah.
Father Christmas for sure. Okay. 5 minutes to go. We can make it.
All right, no more talking. This is a boogie.
The boogie it is.
And we're not taking that extra.
No extra hill. We're doing 9 miles. Anyone who complains can come join us. Take this, please.
Sure.
Got 3 minutes.
I don't know.
Cows on the hill. We're almost there, come on. We're almost there. It's to the 30-mile-an-hour speed limit sign, and we're done. And we are done. That's it, people. 9 miles in 2 hours and 16 minutes. So we're just over. Go do hard things.